So, it's been quite some time. I'll address my absence in full in some live stream down the line, but the general gist is that the second half of junior year through the first half of my now senior year got really busy. Be it research, sports, college/scholarship applications, they all just kinda jumped me. But excuses aside, as the title suggests, I'm coming back to cover my thoughts on the recent Steel Ball Run episode. If you haven't read or watched anything JoJo's related, I would recommend clicking off this video to avoid the spoilers. To keep it a $1.50, this episode was glorious, even with some of the changes. The beginning is an anime original narration of the American frontier, and there is some trimming of the initial Sandman vignette. We see a bit of alteration with Johnny's backstory, with some elements being brought up way earlier than they were in the original manga. And speaking of Johnny, him and a lot of other characters have gone through some slight differences in their color schemes or overall designs. Gyro's clothing has been minimized a bit, Johnny has a variety of colors as opposed to being primarily blue, and Diego's eyes are amber or hazel-ish. While the other two design changes could have been done because of budgeting, in the case of Diego, knowing what happens later in this part with a certain funny man, the eye color change could have very well been intentional, and I'm all for it. And those are just a few of the changes in this episode, but as much as just saying that seems a little alarming, it's really not. I can certainly understand how some manga readers would be bummed out that they removed stuff like the tiny horses or Sandman's liberation with his community, but if we assume that David Pro was pressed for time, I think what we got was pretty substantial. It's possible that the world building details that were cut will be addressed or resurfaced in future episodes in conversations or plot points related to said detail. And I think a potential example of this could be Poco Loco stand Heiya. As in the manga, we saw him in the flesh or spirit. Yeah, I'm gonna go spirit. Whereas in the anime, he's relegated to just being the voice in Poco Loco's head. Considering this is a separate universe, I actually think this vagueness helps draw us new viewers into JoJo's supernatural side, as they'll likely want to figure out the nature of this voice or why Poco Loco seems to be the only person to have this. But knowing some of the mechanisms to awaken this stand in the Steel Ball Run verse differ greatly from those in the Phantom Blood verse, I think once that mechanism is introduced, we'll see Heiya in its full glory in a way that captivates the newer viewers. Alterations aside, the animation choices done here are also pretty good as well. The fast pacing really adds to the idea that this is a race with a legit finish line, and the constant cuts to different characters keeps you guessing on who will win this first stage. And complementing the good animation comes the good music. Now, JoJo's has always been an anime with both great background music and great openings, so I wasn't too worried about what Mr. Kano would cook up for this anime adaptation. And let me tell ya, he delivered. Much like all other part themes, Dance with Steel Ball Run has low-key already cemented itself as one of the greatest part themes in my opinion. The use of saxophones in particular give me heavy Part 5 vibes, which may be in part due to these anime adaptation being directed by the director of Part 5, but I could be reaching. My only gripe, or rather question, is if this is also Johnny's theme or if we'll get some remix of it tailored for Johnny. For almost every other part, the first few episodes feature the main Joestar using his or her stand to beat someone up as the main theme for the part plays in the background. As the part goes on, the main theme is used interchangeably with some remixed song that uses the same leitmotif as the main one whenever said Joestar engages in battle. Here, I'll use Josuke as an example. Johnny, we don't see any use of a stand from him, and this theme is mostly used for the overall Steel Ball Run race as opposed to single characters. So it makes me wonder if Mr. Kano is going to continue with this trend I mentioned earlier, or if he's going to compose some new track for each character. I know he'll cook up either way, but it's just something I wanted to bring up and think about. Because I'm not gonna lie, it got pretty annoying hearing the same theme be played 25 times in a span of only 10 minutes. I also really enjoyed the Dio theme coming back from Diego. And the Avdol theme coming back for, well, Avdol. But overall, I, along with the friends I watched this with, really enjoyed this episode when the first episode came out, and I can't wait to see what David Productions does next. Okay, I've covered just about everything the way I wanted. Now I just got... Is that a... Alright, fine, I'll address it. Look, I know by the time this comes out, I'll probably be beating a more than dead horse, but the way Netflix is going about releasing these episodes is kinda criminal. At least with Stone Ocean, despite the batches killing the hype because of weekly discussion basically being non-existent, the amount of episodes per batch was a consistent 3 sets of 12. With Steel Ball Run though, my Bohemian Rhapsody, we don't even know how many we're gonna get per batch because they seem to be doing it based on the stages of the race according to the manga. Hell, we don't even have a proper release date, just a year. Oh, we're getting it in 2026? I'd hope so, bro. It is 2026. I want to remain optimistic and hope that it isn't too long of a wait, but I can't say the same for the other half of the Jojo fandom. Niggas have turned Johnny Joestar into damn near a creepypasta with symbols and sigils to curse Netflix. You can't make this up.
Netflix, where is SPR? 2026. What day? We don't know.
And the comments, oh boy. Of course, it should go without saying that such outrage can only go so far without being called into question, alright? The voice actors have next to nothing to do with Netflix's way of handling things, so the least you could do is leave them alone. But that aside, it's not entirely ridiculous to call out Netflix for this weird choice in airing episodes. Jojo fans have been waiting for this new universe adaptation for nearly 4 to 5 years, and to see it go out the way Jolene's story did is honestly kinda sad. And what's even crazier is that outside of Jojo's, batch release isn't even that common of a practice for Netflix. You can ask John Donadon or John Dragon Ball. But look, as much as I understand that this choice, despite all the public backlash and admonition against batch release, is horrible, but in some other timeline, we don't even have a JoJo's anime, let alone a part 7. I really don't want to come across as high and mighty, but I do think we should at least be grateful for what we have. As with any undesirable situation, we tend to look at what we could have or should have had, while breezing past what we already do. This is not me telling you guys to stop calling out Netflix for their decisions, but all we can really do now is just to wait for the next stage and hope that Netflix realizes the error in their ways when it's time for JoJolion to get adapted. If ever.